Hey there everybody, Professor Snart checking in a slightly different way here. I'm doing a little screen recording because there seems to be some misunderstanding and maybe some gaps in what's happening as far as our secondary sources go, and primary for that matter. The primary source is simply the main thing you're talking about. Probably for most people it's Death of a Salesman or whatever from our book, the main work of fiction, the play, the poem, the short story. The secondary sources then are material that discusses in a critical or analytical or interpretive way that primary source. So a couple of things going on. First of all, we need to find both database and print sources, and your print source must be a discussion of your primary source, not just some related book that you happen to have read. If you're using that kind of material, that becomes a primary source, in which case you would be doing a comparison paper between those two primary sources where maybe there's a similar character, a similar idea that's treated, and so your paper would be a comparison throughout of those primary texts. As I've indicated in material in the course itself, to find the print source for, let's say, something like Death of a Salesman, we start at the COD catalog page, we will pop into the subjects search here, and in this case, I'm just going to go with Death of a Salesman. You could do Miller, Arthur to find maybe more material, but I'm just going to go this way. What comes up are precisely the sorts of sources that we're looking for. Approaches to teaching Miller's Death of a Salesman, right? Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, another version of the same kind of book. And you'll notice if I click into one of these, in a lot of cases you'll get the table of contents. Okay, so I can actually see before I even find the physical book on the shelf what some of the topics they cover are. Notice that I don't do a search for abandonment in Death of a Salesman or family values in Death of a Salesman. I just do Death of a Salesman. And then within that book, once I finally get a hold of it, I can look for my particular topic or discussions that relate to that particular topic. Okay, so keep the search relatively general in as much as you're just looking for material that discusses that primary text. This is the kind of print secondary source that you're looking for. And obviously, while I do the search online here to find the reference material, I then go to the physical library and get the physical book. That's the print source. Let's go back to our home page. And then again, the databases, we've looked a whole bunch at this. I'm going to click into the literature databases. I've suggested a couple that can usually be effective, the Literature Resource Center and McGill on Literature Plus. Again, I'll just click myself into one of these. Notice that if you're off campus, you're going to need your library card to sign in, but I am here in my office on campus, so I get right to it. And then, same kind of thing. I searched simply for the work title, not for a particular theme or approach or an idea or anything, just the work title. And if I search, it might take me a little work to find what I'm looking for, but I could go into any one of these and find information about Miller, his major works, probably Death of a Salesman itself, all of that kind of stuff. And again, it might not be the very first one that pops up, but if I continue to search, I'm going to find something that's going to be useful. These two kinds of sources are the only kinds you're going to use, either database sources, and you're going to need a print source, but again, a print source that discusses directly your primary text. Okay?